On Tuesdays, we discuss all things health related, and we'll be unpacking that, the topic of constipation with Dr. Youssef Saad. Now, constipation occurs when your bowel movements become less frequent and stools become difficult to pass. It happens most often due to changes in diet or routine, or due to inadequate intake of fiber. And as I promised, of course, Dr. Saad is here to enlighten us more on this very subject. Doc, very good morning to you.
Good morning, and good morning, Namibia. Thank you for having me today.
Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. Of course, passing stool varies from person to person. You know, a number of factors are involved, I'm sure, age, your diet, etc. Talk to us about how often one should pass stool.
Yeah. Actually, the definition of constipation is one of a very controversial topic,
yes.
Even in textbooks. So we don't have a solid information to say, okay, this is normal, and this is definitely abnormal. We think that passing stools once a day is quite a normal thing. Twice a day is not abnormal. Okay. Skipping a day here and there is still not abnormal. So to put the people into an idea, we always say constipation by definition. If somebody is skipping too much days, or if somebody is having very hard stools that it is a struggle to release, or somebody who is need a lot of force or a lot of push to be able to release. So even for people who are releasing every day, they might be still by definition a little bit constipated. Yes.
So a few days, that's normal according to you, Doc?
Not few days, no. I will say the normal habit is supposed to be once every day.
Once every day,
then for somebody, it's normal to skip a day here and there, but not a habit to be skipping days all the time.
Fantastic. What are some of the factors that could lead to constipation?
We usually say, what comes out of the digestive system mainly depend on what we put in.
Yes.
So if we have the correct food, basically a lot of fibers, and fibers equal, for people, the audience to know, fibers equal fruits and vegetables. So if we have enough fruits and vegetables, and if we have enough water intake, that should be making the digestive system happier and release in a better way. If we have more what we call it a junk food, and I want to have a bit of elaboration on that, because people think junk food is something bad. And, it's not necessarily a bad stuff, but it is the stuff which does not have enough fibers. We refer to as junk.
Okay.
And reason behind it, when we refer to junk food, we speak basically about starches.
Yes.
So rice, macaroni, and bread, and so on. Refined food products, plus meaty stuff. And we in Namibia, we are very popular of our meat, and we are proud to have the best meat internationally. So we depend on meaty stuff. When we speak about meaty stuff, we refer to meat and fish and chicken. So all of them plus starchy food are making the intestine sort of like constipated. So there is nothing wrong to eat those stuff, but we need to add our fibers. So we need to take a mixed veggies, we need to take some salads, we need to take some fruits, and we need to drink enough water.
Fantastic. What happens in the digestive system, Doc, that we call constipation, or your stool basically? Does it harden? Talk to us about what actually happens in the digestive system.
What happens is the food comes to the stomach, it stays for a couple of hours, mixed with acid to be softened. Then it starts to be released to the small bowel, small intestine. The small bowel will be having all the digestive juice coming from the liver, coming from the pancreas, and coming from the intestine itself, where everything will be blended together and it will be very liquidish. So from there, the body will absorb all the nutrients which the body needs. That includes all the sugars, all the minerals, all the amino acids, which are the proteins, and all the fatty acids, which are the fats or the lipids. The remaining stuff, which the body does not need, which is the residue, will be pushed to the colon which is the large intestine. In the colon, the main function of the colon is to absorb the water for two functions. Number one, to reserve our water, otherwise we are going to lose a lot of water, which is not good for the system. And then the other point is to help us to store. If we have diarrhea, it's a liquidish stools, we are not able to hold. We need to run to the toilet every few minutes. So the function of the colon to help us storing the residue, it need to be sort of like dried up a little bit. When we are waiting longer not to go to the toilet, the stools become too hard to be released in a spontaneous, easy way. So the job which is difficult today will be more difficult tomorrow, will be almost impossible without adding a supplement the day after tomorrow. So absorbing the water will be relying on two major factors. How much water we intake. So if we don't take enough, then the stools are already dried. Number two, about the weather, and this is why we say for people to use water, we advocate 2 liters of water in winter and 3 in summer, because in summer we lose a lot of water from the skin surface, so the body needs an extra liter of water.
Fantastic. When should I be concerned, Doc? Say 2 days have passed, struggling to pass the stool. When does it become a concern? And to see a medical expert?
It needs to be a concern in few cases. Number one, when there is sudden change. So somebody who's using the toilet every day, all of a sudden become sort of like, skipping days. So that is abnormal for this person. When we see any mucus, slime coming, when we see any blood coming with the stools, when it is a painful process, either locally around the rectum or when cause a lot of cramps. So those are the major alarming type of things. People should be releasing regularly and should have no big change of the bowel habits.
Very much. Would that be known as chronic constipation, those symptoms that you just showed, you just spoke about?
Chronic constipation is somebody who is struggling with constipation for longer than 2 to 4 weeks. So if it is something, as I said earlier, a skip here once every now and then, it's it's normal.
It's normal.
But if somebody is continuously struggling, then it should be considered as chronic.
Very much so. Does this become more complicated the older you are? Say, for instance, somebody who's 60 plus here.
Not necessarily, but as we grow older, the systems become a little bit sluggish or weaker. So some people, as they grow older, become a little bit more constipated. But some people who are maintaining, sports, by the way, sports and exercises is also very important because it helps the intestine to be moving and the muscles to be working in a better way. So some people are able to maintain healthy lifestyle as they grow older and they take enough fibers, they take care of taking enough water, and those ones, they don't struggle much.
Fantastic. Could medical conditions resulting in the use of medication also lead to possible constipation?
Yes, that's a very good question. We know some drugs are causing constipation by nature, and some of them are in common use. So most of the mineral supplements like calcium and potassium, some of the iron supplementations will be causing constipation. And I want to warn here from that platform, the people who are doing a lot of excessive exercise and using refined proteins and amino acids. Those ones are usually having a more bigger issue because the refined protein absorb a lot of water and cause the stools inside the colon to become more hardened.
Fantastic. So a lot of water, a lot of fiber, and you should be okay.
Yes.
All right, Doc. Just in conclusion, of course, we know that some people may perhaps try to solve this on their own by forcing, the stool to come out, which is not advisable. What complications could come from that here? Constipation itself can cause a lot of problems. Some of them can happen locally around the rectum, like hemorrhoids is a very known disease coming with constipation. And as a surgeon, we recommend that before we fix hemorrhoids, we need the patient to fix his constipation. Otherwise, we warn the patient that recurrence can be high. Hard stool can cause a little bit of a tear or a cut, which we call it as anal fissures, which can be either acute or chronic.
But the pressure inside the colon, which is actually much more dangerous, can cause a lot of changes inside the colon wall, which can cause bubbles of the colon, what we know scientifically as diverticulosis. The colon wall can build a lot of inflammation, and there are some proven changes which we see it with a camera. When we do cameras for the colon, we call it colonoscopy.
Yes.
We see a lot of changes which happen. The most serious one is there is a lot of evidence now that cancer colon is related to chronic constipation.
Wow.
So people need to understand that, and this is why we try to reverse constipation, because it is known that people who are living with long-standing constipation are at a higher incidence of getting cancer colon exposure. So the advice is, number one, it's easy. People try to push enough fibers with every meal they take, a plate of fruits and vegetables, enough water, and then enough mild exercise. While exercising, they need to be well hydrated. So they need to take enough water just before exercise, during exercise, and after exercise. If the problem is not sorted, then they might need to take some supplements as well.
Very much. Doc, in your experience, how often do you come across constipation, not only constipation, but chronic constipation as well?
It is a very common problem in Namibia, and for the two factors which I said, because we like our meats, which is a bit of a diet issue. We don't take care of having enough fruits and vegetables, and they are a little bit expensive also to afford with every meal. Then the second problem, because Namibia is relatively a dry country, so we tend to lose a lot of water from our body surface without our realizing that we are a little bit dehydrated. So my advice for the audience is, please try to make the task of drinking water like an awareness, daily awareness. So it's not when you feel thirsty you drink, but rather keep a fixed amount, a bottle of water, walk around, make sure that you finish it once or twice a day.
My co-host in the pair always walks around with this big, I want to call it a container.
No, it's a very good habit. We really encourage people to have that habit, because that is the only way you measure. A lot of people, if you ask them, do you drink water? I drink more than enough. Okay, how do you measure, how do you gauge? And then we discover that only a cup or two. But people who are walking around with a liter or 2 liter container, and they are aware that they finished it once, twice a day, are the only people who are assuring us that they had enough water for the day.
Doc, always a pleasure gaining your medical insights. Thank you for being with us on this subject, and all the best to you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
There you have it. Dr. Youssef Saad, of course, medical surgeon, talking to us this morning about constipation, saying that with enough fiber and enough water intake, you should be okay. So Namibians, let's stave off a bit from the meat, and of course make sure that we get enough fruits and veggies in our bodies as well. Do stay with us. We continue right here on Good Morning Namibia.